2, Scotland versus France. It finished 28-17, and the France's chance of a Grand Slam has been brought to a Grand Slam stop. We will be obviously talking about all the action during this game, and not just the cards, because whilst the cards happened, they weren't necessarily why France lost this game. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion, and I'm joined by Maz to go through all the action. How are you doing?
Good. I think after that defeat.
So looking at this one, it kicked off, and we had an indication that cards were going to be involved pretty early on. Yellow card after only 4 minutes for a tip tackle by France. Not much going on there, and the player obviously got too low. And I think if a second player hadn't come in, that wasn't going to be a tip tackle. But at the end of the day, if a player lands on his head, you need some sort of sanction, don't you?
Exactly that, yeah. And so early on in the game as well. And it just seemed to lose a bit of momentum after that.
Yeah. You say, the opening couple of minutes were good by France, missed a penalty from a long way out. I thought Scotland didn't execute well during that yellow card. They got a penalty, but they lost a line out, and they just weren't clicking at that stage, and didn't take. I thought France survived that yellow card pretty well to just be 3 points down at the end of it.
They did, but Ntamack going off in maybe the 7th or 8th minute.
Yep.
For a HIA, never coming back on. I think that seemed to have, between the yellow card for Crow, Ntamack going off, it seemed to have a huge impact on the French team that they never really seemed to have recovered from. Yes, Scotland didn't impact enough for a yellow card, but I think Ntamack going off it just seemed to throw all their plans up into the air. They never recovered from that fully, and Scotland had the upper hand. It seemed to take France an awful long time to get another kind of plan or play into place with Jalabert coming on. And obviously things like that happen. Teams have plans in place, don't work out and things like that. So yeah, for me, Ntamack going off was a huge turning point in the game, huge for France.
Yeah, and this is a young French side. So whilst you've got your starters on and things are going to plan, everything's fine. When you start to lose things like that, the question is, how well are they used to coping with those sort of changes under that kind of pressure? And Scotland slowly racked up a couple of penalties to take after that. And for me, the problem for France was that their passing wasn't in the right place today. It was either on the shoulder or just off, and they're just knocking on the ball too often. In the end, the turnovers kind of evened out a bit. It was 10 turnovers by Scotland and 18 by France. But it was over twice as many in the first half. France just couldn't hold on to the ball. Now, was that pressure from tackling by Scotland, or was that just them having a bad day? I don't know, but the handling wasn't there today, was it?
No, it definitely wasn't. It didn't seem to be the same team. Again, as you said, they're a young team. They're lacking the experience. It showed a bit today. I'm also not sure that it was personally a great choice putting in Pinot coming in from a longish injury, not having really played club rugby, and dropping Teddy Thomas. I think Teddy, he's not great at defending, but I still think he would have been better today than Pinot. He has a bit more experience as well. You can't knock them. They're young. They have to learn. They have to take the beats and learn from that. But it just didn't click today. Nothing. Even the bounce of the ball. It's typical though on a team when you're not winning. Even the bounce of the ball just doesn't go right for you.
Yeah, and look, everyone sees this French side as being this flowing attacking team, and they do have those flair players in there, but they also do a lot of pick and goes. 111 passes, but 132 runs shows you that they pick it up. That's 21 more runs than passes. Shows they pick and go. Now, when they picked and go
Mm.
when Scotland weren't expecting it, it worked and they gained ground. As soon as Scotland went, oh, they've done 5 pick and goes and reorganised their defence, then they didn't go anywhere. And they needed to get that balance right of attacking where the opposition aren't expecting it. Because if you do it where they expect it, most sides of this nowadays will front up, and then, but yeah, they at times it works, but at times it didn't. When they did get their try in that first half was when Dupont went to first receiver. Jalabert made the break, and great vision from Dupont to spot the free man on the outside and get the kick away.
Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. It, it's all. I think it's about all the way that they played together as a young team, having a lot of them come through to the under 20s and things like that. But it was just some of the basic errors or basic decisions that they were making that wasn't just going right for them.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Scotland, not everything, but a lot of things went very, very smoothly for them today. Really smoothly for them.
Right,
they scored some great tries and they got the bounce off the ball, especially for one or two of those tries.
We can't leave it any longer. The red card time then. So, it was 6-7.
Red, yellow.
6-7.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of players having a go at it. Richie comes in, pushes a player over.
Yeah.
They get back up, and woof, bang, we have Hurras, who Mohammed Hurras, who they always mention the fact that he has spent time in jail, but throws a punch, and initially the officials don't spot it, but after a few replays they see it, and look, if you're going to pull your fist back and you're going to hit someone on the chin, you're going to go off a red card, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But what they had spoken about earlier on was the fact that, it was 2 players that started, but Richie actually came in from nowhere to get involved in that.
Yeah.
And Williams, as a referee, said it to Barnes, but the number 6, I think he called him white number 6, came in from a long distance to get involved in that, which he did. Okay, he got a slap for doing it or a box for doing it, and yes, it was a red card. But my opinion, he should also have been given a yellow card from basically getting involved in nothing he was involved in. But,
this wouldn't have got out of hand if he hadn't run in. We'd had 2 players push and shove, and that would have been it. Because he ran in, he should have been yellow carded as well. The initial result was going to be a penalty against Scotland for him rushing in. Now, and clearly they saw the officials saw it as a penalty offence. I thought it was a bit higher than that. I would have gone for yellow. So people mentioned that we also had the 11. I've gone blank as to who that is. Fiku, I think it is, came in and tackled Richie to the ground. You're like, yes, but that's
yeah, he did.
Yeah, but that's
there was
after
so much
Fiku's
going on.
Sorry, that's after Richie has inflamed the situation. I think a red card for Hurras and a yellow for Richie would have been the right balance at that point, personally.
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely, totally agree. Absolutely, totally agree with the red, but I think Richie deserved a card as well for just coming in and being really just adding to it all. That would have just calmed down. There would have been no problem. But there was so many things going on in there. If you look back, if they all look back later on, I'm sure there could have been a lot of cards somewhere around.
In those situations, look, you could give out 5 or 6 cards. At the end of the day, what normally happens is you give out 1 card to each side, and that's it. Even though there are multiple offences in there, unless there are totally egregious things going on. Now, on Saturday night here in New Zealand, we also had a red card in the Hurricanes versus Blues game for a player tucking his arm and shoulder to the head in the tackle. Now, to be fair, he was bracing himself. It wasn't a blatant piece of foul play like this was, but there was a lot of calls in New Zealand for saying that ruined the game as a spectacle, and that the player should be replaced. You should be allowed to replace a red-carded player after 10 or 15 minutes. I put a tweet out suggesting that, asking if that's how people thought. and I've got literally, I don't think anybody in the Northern Hemisphere thought that he should be replaced, a red card should be replaced. So um, I
No.
think everyone was pretty happy, is comfortable with the fact that he went off and stays off,
Yeah.
and no one else
Yeah.
can come back up
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. 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 No, that's definitely not replaceable. No. 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 That's your what? When did he go off? 37, 36, 37 minutes, I think, something
37
like
minutes,
that. It was
yep.
just before half time. Yeah. 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 No. No. That. No. No. That is the rest of the time on 14 players. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, just for those
But I
who,
hadn't seen that interview you were talking about. So no, I didn't see that game with the Blues at all. So it's part of my catch up Monday and Tuesday night.
so the just for those people who aren't aware, by the way, Global Rapid Rugby kicks off next weekend, which is which have got some law changes, and in there they do allow the players to be replaced after 15 minutes if they're red carded. So it's going to be interesting to see how that experiment goes in that competition. Check out DrivingMaul.com if you want to know more about Global Rapid Rugby. I've got a few pieces up there already, and I'll be following that competition during the season. The For those who don't know, that's where the Western Force have gone after Super Rugby. France really kind of lost at that point and needed to get to half time. Unfortunately for them, they allowed Hastings made a break as Jalabert jumped out the line, got his read wrong, and they put
Yeah.
Maitland in the corner, and then that was having that on the back of the red card, that momentum shift going into half time. It was very difficult to see France going back from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And full credit to Scotland. They really played well. They really played with heart, and they were they were onto everything that France tried to do. Absolutely onto everything that France tried to do. France had no answers, an inexperienced team, but no. I'm delighted to see Scotland doing so well as they have, especially after a few rough games. It was good to see, and held their heads, held the momentum, and kept going.
And they came out the second half, weathered a quick storm by France,
Mm.
good break, went got themselves into a kicking duel, won that kicking duel. France's kick chase wasn't great today. Hogg gets himself up
No,
against low numbers, makes the break, and again they was that Maitland again, or was that a different? Maitland again gets his second try in the corner,
make sense.
and to me
Yeah,
at that point
again,
that was the nail
yeah,
in the coffin. Coming out after second half,
it was.
getting that 21-7, and game over at that point. Now I heard the commentators going, "Oh, this France can be dangerous here because hey, they can go loose and offloads and pass more." And I'm like, "Geez, there's an age of the game to go. They don't need to be chasing in
Mm,
the game yet. They've already been passing and offloading, and it's been going to ground. What they need to do
mm,
really is put boot to ball and just pin Scotland back into the corners." Um, but their kick chase wasn't good enough, and they couldn't execute that style of play. And with them dropping balls, a bit of rain late on, the game was gone. And the last half hour was
yeah,
pretty irrelevant.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it also goes to show how well Dupont and Entomac play together as a scrum half and a fly half. As they say, when they click like that, a bit like Sexton and Murray and other great combinations. And it just wasn't happening with Dupont and Jalabert at all, even though I see Jalabert when he plays with Bordeaux and he's an excellent player, but it just was not clicking for them today when Entomac went off. Just something just collapsed.
Yeah, and as you say,
Uh,
the bounce of the ball was going Scotland's way. Even when they did get their kick chase, even when they lost their end line out in the French 22, the ball bounced up. Their hooker picks
yeah,
it up, goes over and
yeah,
scores. And at that
yeah,
point,
yeah, Maitland, yeah, beautiful tries. Yeah, really, really well taken.
so
Really
that goes
beautiful
up to
tries.
28-10. The commentators started talking about try bonus points and that kind of stuff, but Scotland, it didn't really look like it was going to happen. There was a late break which they kicked over the dead ball line. We had a consolation try for France as well, which showed what
Yeah,
France can do. But but that was it. Question in the live chat about why Scotland's scrum's going well. I don't know, to be honest with you. Obviously, they've got a
Don't
team.
know.
I'm not an expert at the scrum. Dissecting the scrum is a difficult thing to do. I am trying to sit down with a scrum coach to put together an armchair's fans guide to scrummaging, and maybe I'll know a bit more after that. But yeah, I think to a certain degree, what France have done, which like a lot of sides have done, is they've picked props who are good and mobile around the pitch, players like Bamber, etc., who are not scrummaging players, right? They
No.
can scrummage, but that's not their strength. Whereas I think that's probably part of it. But also clearly, yes, Scotland have had some good work by their South African scrummaging coach, and are doing very well at that in that set piece. Unless you have any other insights into scrummaging, I'm not sure I can say any more.
No, no. But I do know that both Fraser Brown and Sandra Ferguson, when they play with Glasgow Warriors, they have an excellent scrum. So obviously some of that has come across to the Scotland team as well. Apart from that, I can remember, it's not even, 2 years ago, last year we were talking about the French scrum being with these enormous players like Danny Pizzo and Slimani and these super big players, but they couldn't move. All they could do was stand still in the scrum, and you couldn't really push them anywhere. Whereas now you have the others like Bamba and that who are well known not to scrum too well, but they can move around the pitch. So I don't know where you go with that, really. I don't.
Add into that the whole idea of around Sean Edwards' very high energy defence, and you can't play just solid blocks in the props anymore for France. They've got to play much more mobile props, otherwise it just doesn't fit in with the whole game plan. So that's probably a part of it. It was a contrast of styles. Scotland were kicking the ball for territory and then waiting to break. France were playing much more ball in hand, and the tackling stats show that 167 tackles successfully done from 193 tries. Attempted tackles by Scotland to only 67 tackles by France attempted from 80. A massive shift put in by the particularly the Scottish forwards. To give you an idea about what that means is Olivon for France was the top tackler with 9 tackles. Didn't miss any. Had a good day at the office in that part. But all these playing, Chris Harris did 9 tackles in the backs, same as Olivon. Sutherland, Brown, Ferguson, Cummings, Gilchrist, Ritchie, Watson, all did more than 10 or more tackles. So 7 players tackled more than the top tackler for France. Serious shifts put in there, particularly by Gilchrist, 18 non-missed. Watson, 18 non-missed. Yeah, they were solid today. Now, when it's pick and goes, you're not being asked. It's a pure brute situation, right? You're not being asked many questions. You either put your body on the line or you don't. But even so, you've still got to put your body on the line. So yeah, hats off to the Scottish forwards. They put in a massive shift today.
Yeah, that's huge. That is huge. I have to say that Hamish Watson is probably one of my favourite players in the world. I think he's also underrated, the amount of work that guy does. I just love seeing him play. Absolutely love seeing him play. And that doesn't surprise me that he's way up there in the stats. I hadn't seen stats for at the end of the match at all, but no, absolutely, he's brilliant. Fair play to Scotland. They went out and they played with a game plan. They played with a vision, and look, once or twice, lucky bounce of the ball. That's the way all sports are, and they took advantage. And they had some beautiful tries. They really deserved that one today.
And Hamish Watson today showed a different side of the game. Lots of tackling, all made. We've seen him come on before, do a lot of ball carrying and bounce through, but he only got 3 ball carries today. So it's that was just a side. We saw a different side of his game today, which is very good.
Yeah.
Henning, the 8, got through much more ball carrying. But you got to just see when Maitland, 8 carries, 2 of those were just flopping over the line
Yeah.
for tries. Hogg, 15 carries, which is twice as many as the next
Yeah.
guy in the team. Shows you that how much of this game revolves around him
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
his kick returns. So, yeah, if you're probably is obvious to say, but if you're playing Scotland, you've got to key on Hogg, otherwise,
Yeah.
because he is their man.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
On the
I was delighted he had the game today as well. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good with his kick return, solid on the high ball. He had a good game today.
Yeah.
The other player on obviously, as France had most of the attack, Vakatawa, 14 carries. He got through a shift of work, but was well marshalled. Didn't get many didn't really manage to get any breaks. And Aldrit, 16 carries today. He got through a chunk of work as well. He's a
He
beast.
always does. Always does. Yeah. No, he's a delight to watch. Delight to watch.
Um,
His his father was brought up around Stirling. Father was born in Kenya, but moved to Stirling when he was about 8 years old, and then lived most of all his childhood until they moved to France. And I don't know what age his father moved to France at. And his grandfather and great grandfather were born in Dublin. So
so
he's
there you go.
quite a mix.
Could have played for any number of teams in the Six Nations. Ended up in playing for France. So where does this leave us then? France, obviously, the Grand Slam has gone. Looking at the table, then the Six Nations table, what that means is that they are on 13 points ahead of England, who are also on. Actually, no, that's wrong. It hasn't been updated for the. So I can get its update for the end of this game. There we go. England now top the table on 13 points with a points difference of 15. France in second with a 13 points difference, also on 13 points. Scotland have moved up to third in the table on 10 points, with Ireland down in fourth now on 9 points. Wales and Italy further down. But Ireland on 9 points. They've got 2 games to go now. They've got to play. They've got the game against Italy, which you'd expect would be 5 points, which would put them basically top of the table on 14. Which really means that the Grand Slam comes down, or sorry, not the Grand Slam, the Championship comes down to Ireland on 14, who will have to play France, and then England on 13, who would have to play Italy. England are going to come away with 5 points. Let's be honest, to finish on 18, it's going to come down to that. Can Ireland get 5 points or try bonus point win in France next weekend? It's coming down to that game.
And in all honesty, I don't even know that there's going to be a game next week in France. It is. There's more and more things being postponed, closed as of yesterday. All up in the north of France, most schools are now closed for 2-3 weeks. Universities. Will a game go ahead next week? Don't know. And that will also come down to if all these games are. There's already 2 games postponed: Italy, Ireland, England. And England, Italy. If Ireland, France is postponed, what happens? Are they all put back to when they can play in another date, or do World Rugby decide it's just a draw? And
at the end of the day,
I would be surprised if
World Rugby does not administer this tournament, so they're not going to have any say. It's going to come down to It's going to come down to what the Six Nations Committee wants to say. Now, I was chatting with Bernard Jackman the other day, saying that look, there's no slots for these games. They should play them behind closed doors. And he was like, look, Paul, the Six Nations pays for rugby in the Six Nations in the Six Nations countries. They cannot afford not to get the gate revenue and and particularly all the corporate tickets and corporate entertainment that goes on around these games. So these games have to
Yeah.
happen. The only way they
Yeah.
wouldn't happen is if there's insurance, if there's enough insurance that basically they would get the same income another way. So these games are going to happen. The question is only really the question is when. There are two
Yeah.
spots. You either play them after the July internationals at the beginning of August, or you play them
Hmm.
around the November internationals. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
my
Yeah. Yeah.
expectation is they're probably going to be played in sort of in October around the November internationals. Shuffle the Pro 14 season so that you have
Mm.
so that the Italian players are free for those 2 weekends, and then also make sure the European games are not on those 2 weekends, and I think that's basically what's going to
Mm.
happen. Is we're going to see these games played probably in
Yeah.
October, maybe late November, early December.
Yeah. As they did a few years ago, well, how many years ago was it now? 10 years ago with the Fortune Masters, they were played September, October.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I think that's what's going to have to happen. I honestly don't know. I think I'll be surprised if the France game goes ahead. More and more things are being cancelled here. It's our equivalent of council elections next weekend, and they're actually talking about postponing them in some areas as well. And it's mostly the north of France. We're not really affected as much, thankfully, down here. But all around Paris, Lille, towards Strasbourg, that's the big problem for them. So I honestly don't know. I, I hope it goes ahead. I think everybody wants it to go ahead,
Mm.
but yeah, wait and see. And then, of course, the other thing is we all want to see Sergio getting his big round of applause finally going off for a game at some stage.
Oh dear, that's yes. Um, the Yeah, he should have done it for the Scotland game if he was going to do it. In some ways, I
Yeah,
don't think he should. I think he should just say, look, yeah, it's all over. Thank you very much.
yeah,
It's a distraction to the team
yeah,
and what they're building towards. So yeah, if they maybe during because during the November international they'll have a tier two nation game at home. So maybe do it during that tier two nation rather than one of the tier one games that Italy are playing.
yeah,
That's where I think it would be better for him to do it.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so there you go. So England now have, whilst the destiny is in Ireland's hands, as far as winning the tournament, England have got to be favourites, with France to
Mm-hmm,
also possibilities as well if they can get a try bonus point win over Ireland. So that's
mm-hmm.
it. So if it wasn't for the for the coronavirus and for cancelled games, we would be heading towards a really climactic end of tournament. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a damp squib, and it's likely to be kind of on hiatus until October.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure as always,
Thank you, for,
and
thank you for asking. It's been a pleasure.
and I will be back for any Six Nations games that are happening next weekend. So don't forget to hit the subscribe down below and get your bell on, so you can get all the notifications. Yep, there's
What's that about? Cowbell.
my Waikato cowbell. So yeah, get your hit the bell down below, so you get the notifications of when I go live, and for all my other videos. And I say check out DrivingMaul.com for predictions across all the professional leagues and other opinion videos.